Hey everyone, we're going to go over the basics of unit conversions. This is a important topic, not so much anymore to do the conversions themselves. A lot of this you can do with a Google search, but um, this is going to set up how we're going to do uh, our stoichiometry problems, which is what we are entering into in the next week. So this is more important for understanding how we're going to solve those problems. So even if you have some other way to solve this particular problem, I need you to solve them this way so that you get in a good habit so that you understand the next step in what we're going to do with chemistry problems. All right. So I've set up just a basic problem here, which is how many inches are there in 9.8 centimeters. So we're going to write 9.8 centimeters here. We're going to use the fact that 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters. This is what's known as a unit conversion factor, and we're going to write this as a fraction. There's two ways to write it. You can write either 1 inch over 2.54 centimeters, or you can write 2.54 centimeters over 1 inch. Either of those is a unit conversion factor, and it's going to allow us to transform the units that we're given into the ones we want. Now, the way we choose them is that we look at the units we have, and we're going to want a denominator that has that same unit. Because what's going to happen is this unit in the numerator is going to cancel out with this unit in the denominator. If it's not obvious to you at first that we have that this starting point is a numerator, you can always write whatever we start with over 1 if that helps you spot that better. Okay. Anyway, so we're going to pick this form of the conversion factor where we have 2.54 centimeters in the denominator and 1 inch in the numerator, because again, that's going to make centimeters in the numerator, centimeters in the denominator are going to cancel out like that. And we're going to be left with a unit of 1 inch. And when we plug this into our calculator, we get 3.9 inches. Notice that when you do this in the calculator, you're just taking whatever's in your numerators, the 9.8, and you're dividing by whatever's in the denominator, which in this case is 2.54. We don't have to multiply by the 1, but that's what you would do if there were a number there. Okay, so let's do something a little more complicated. So let's say how many, that's supposed to be many, goodness. How many feet are in 31.6 centimeters, all right? So we're going to start with the given, which is the 31.6 centimeters. We're going to choose a conversion factor that has centimeters in the denominator. Now notice that we're trying to get to feet, which is a standard English unit or standard American unit or customary unit, I've heard, whatever you want to call it. It's the weirdo units that we use here in the United States, nowhere else. So we're going to go from centimeters to inches is going to make the most sense. So we're going to do 2.54 centimeters in 1 inch, all right? And that's going to get us part way there. So, but not all the way, right? Because we need to further get to feet. So we're then going to go from inches to feet because we know that there's 12 inches in 1 foot. Okay. So that's going to get us where we need to go because notice that centimeters cancel with centimeters, inches cancel with inches. The unit we're left in is feet, all right? So we're going to plug this into our calculator. You do that as 31.6 over 2.54 times 12. And I really want to urge you in your calculator to use parentheses around your denominator because if you don't, your calculator gets mixed up as far as like orders of operation. So just remember that you're going to want to do 31.6 divided by open parenthesis 2.54 times 12. And then close parenthesis, that gets you 1.04. And again, our unit here is feet. All right. A side note on the significant digits, remember that these unit conversions here are considered perfect. So they're like it's 2.5400000 centimeters and 1.0000 inches. So there's an infinite number of significant digits in the conversions. So we're going to look at this initial number over here for how many significant digits we have in our final answer. There's 1, 2, 3 there, so we need 1, 2, 3 in our final answer. All right. So 31.6 centimeters. That's a little over a foot. Is the point. All right. The next thing we need to think about is that we're mostly going to work in the metric system in chemistry because, it's superior in every way. And also it's just what everyone does. So we need to have some familiarity with the metric system. There's a number of conversions that I would just expect you to know off the top of your head. Any others, would be given to you or you could look up. The first one you need to know is just that there's 1,000, and we'll use meters as our base unit here, but we'll go over that in a second. I'm going to be quiet. Sorry. There's 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer, but then 1 meter is equal to a whole bunch of things such as 100 centimeters, 1,000 millimeters, 1 times 10 to the 6th, that's a million. Micrometers. Notice that it looks like micrometer if you write it out, but we say micrometer. I don't know why, it's just what we do. Anyway, 1 times 10 to the 9th nanometers. This one is nanometers. This one's near and dear to my heart because I spent a lot of time working on nanometer scale things when I was in graduate school, so I kind of like nanometers. And then the only other one I would expect you to know is there are 10 to the 12th picometers in a meter. This one's important because a lot of times later on we're going to measure distances between atoms in molecules in picometers. So that one turns out to be a handy one. There are plenty of others that you might encounter, and I'm not going to force you to memorize those, but these are ones that I would expect you to know off the top of your head for my class. One thing that I want to point out here is that these are not dependent on the fact that we're doing this for meters. So notice I did all of these in meters because that's what I was talking about, but you could replace the meters with grams and all of these things would still apply, okay? So 1 gram would be equal to 100 centigrams or 1,000 milligrams or 1 times 10 to the 9th nanograms. It doesn't matter. Whatever that base unit is, and it doesn't matter that you understand what that base unit is, but all you have to know is how to convert, okay? So for example, if I gave you 1 times 10 to the 9th nanopascals, even though you don't know what a Pascal is, you know that that's the same as 1 Pascal because 10 to the 9th nano anything is the same as 1 in the base unit. Okay, so it doesn't matter that we replace this thing with grams or meters or liters or moles, which we haven't talked about yet, or amperes, which is a physics unit for current. It doesn't matter. These prefixes over here are still going to mean the same thing, even if the base unit changes from meters to amperes to moles. All right, so let's do some practice with that. So let's say we had how many meters in, let's do something that's a little more applied, right? So let's say how many miles is 5.0 kilometers. Okay, so if you go out and you run a 5K, how far is that? Now you could look up the direct conversion for this, which I don't want you to. I want you to do it this way, because again, we're practicing. We're not. The goal here is not to be able to convert kilometers to miles. The goal here is to be able to convert between whatever units we're given, and that's going to matter later on. Okay. All right. So we know that 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters because we just went over that. All right. So, and we've got to somehow get from metric units into standard American units. So the only one you know at the moment is that 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters, right? So that's the way you got to go. So you got to say, okay, 1 meter is 100 centimeters, and 2.54 centimeters is an inch. 12 inches is a foot, and then 5,280 feet is a mile. Why is 5,280 feet a mile? It has something to do with like Roman legions or something. I just read something about this recently. It doesn't matter. It's the reason that the metric system is better because everything's in thousands, but whatever. Okay, so now we're going to double check. We've got kilometers canceling with kilometers, meters canceling with meters, centimeters canceling with centimeters, inches canceling with inches, feet canceling with feet. All right, we end up at miles. That's what we wanted, so we're doing good. So we're going to multiply our numerator across 5 times 1,000 times 100 divided by, in parentheses, 2.54 times 12 times 5280, and that comes out to be 3.1 miles, right? So your 5K is about 3.1 miles, right? That's using a little bit of the prefixes kilo and centi here. Let's do one more with just metric prefixes. So how many milliampere is 5.29 times 10 to the 8th nanoampere? And again, you don't need to know what an ampere is, right? Because all that matters is the prefixes here. So we're going to do 5.29 times 10 to the 8th nanoampere. Now, there's more than one way to do this next step. Until you get good, I'm going to suggest that you always go from whatever you're given, nanoampere, back to the base unit of ampere. All right? Those of you that see a shortcut, good for you. You're welcome to use it. But as you're getting started, I think it's easier to always go back to the base unit and then go from the base unit of ampere to what we're trying to get to, which is milli. There's 1,000 milliamperes in 1 ampere. Okay. Notice that what I'm doing here is largely I'm filling out my units, right? Like I'm going units to units, and then I go back and ask myself, all right, well, how many nanoampere are there in an ampere? And I know that that's 10 to the 9th because I just gave you that table on the preceding slide. So follow the units. The units are your friends. They will help you get where you need to be, okay? Notice that nanoamps and nanoamps cancel. Sorry, I should stick with the full word. Nanoampere and nanoampere cancel. Ampere and ampere cancel. We're left with milliampere, which is what we were looking for. So we're in good shape. That's going to be 5.29 times 10 to the, I probably shouldn't do this in my head, second milliampere. That's the same thing as 529 milliampere, all right? And that's going to get us where we need to go within metric units. Again, the key thing here is that you're going to write whatever unit you're trying to get out of, get away from in the denominator, go to a unit that gets you closer to where you need to be, and then repeat the process until you get to the end, right? So whatever new unit is here now appears down here in the denominator. Now we get to the unit we want to go to, all right? I'm going to give you all just a couple of practice problems here to try. So how many feet are in 1.60 meters? And then how many centigrams are there in 3.852 milligrams? So pause the video here and try those two out, and then I'll work through the answers. All right, hopefully you've had a chance to work through those on your own paper. A lot of this, by the way, is getting comfortable with not just the method, but with your calculator. Your calculator is going to have a little different quirk to it than everyone else's. And you want to get comfortable with your calculator that you're going to use on quizzes and exams so that you're always comfortable with it and you don't have to fiddle with it, in time crunch situations. So be sure that you're practicing problems in your homework using that same calculator you're always going to use. All right, we're trying to get to feet. We want to get away from meters. Let's go to centimeters because we know that centimeters are going to be able to get us to inches, and then inches go to feet. And then we'll just go back and fill these in. 1 meter is 100 centimeters. Oops, put that in the wrong place. Come on, eraser. 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters, and then there's 12 inches in a foot. Okay. Notice that meters cancel, centimeters cancel, inches cancel. So we have 1.6 times 100 divided by, in parentheses, 2.54 times 12. We get 5.25 feet out of that. One more time, if when you put this in your calculator, it needs to go in as 1.6 times 100 divided by, in parentheses, 2.54 times 12. If you're getting a different answer from me, it's almost certainly because you didn't put the denominators in parentheses. Okay. All right. This next one, again, there's more than one way to do this one. I'm going to show you the way that I said to do it on the earlier slide, which is we're going to go milligrams back to grams. So back to the base unit. Then we're going to go from grams to centigrams, right? A gram is 1,000 milligrams, and a gram is 100 centigrams. So that's going to be 0.3852 centigrams. Milligrams cancel, grams cancel, left in centigrams. All right. Okay, hope those couple of practice problems are helpful. If you have additional questions about this video, please feel free to drop those in the comments. Anyway, I hope this was helpful, and please let me know what else